John Miller was a simple man. He lived alone on a quiet farm far from the city. Every day he worked hard plowing the fields, feeding the animals, and fixing broken tools. His hands were rough, his back was tired, and his heart felt heavy. Life was not easy, but it was his dot that evening. The sky turned orange as the sun began to fall behind the hills. A soft wind passed through the cornfield, making the tall stalks wave gently like a sea of gold. John wiped the sweat from his forehead. He was about to return home when he heard something strange, a whisper. A low, soft voice. At first, he thought it was the wind. Then he heard it again. "Please, just some food?" John turned around quickly. He looked across the field. Something moved between the corn. His heart beat faster. He slowly walked forward, holding his shovel tight. "Who's there?" He called out. No answer. He pushed through the corn step by step. Then he saw it, a figure. Standing still, not human. The creature was tall and thin, with skin that shimmered like metal under the evening light. Its eyes glowed soft blue, and its body was covered in something that looked like a suit, but not made by human hands. It looked weak, tired, hurt. John froze. He had never seen anything like it in his life. The creature raised one hand slowly. "Don't be afraid. I am not here to harm you." John did not move. "What are you?" The creature looked at him with sad eyes. "I am alone," it said. "I was left behind. Please, just feed me tonight. I will carry your burdens, human." John blinked. His hands shook slightly. Was this real? Was he dreaming? The creature dropped to one knee. Its voice grew softer. "I cannot fight. I am not strong anymore, but I can help you. I can work for food. Just food." John looked at the creature. It was clearly in pain. Its leg was bleeding a dark green liquid. It didn't seem dangerous. It didn't even try to hide. John looked up at the sky. Stars were slowly appearing. Maybe this was fate. Maybe he had a choice to make. He sighed. "All right, but no tricks. You try anything strange and I won't be so kind." The creature nodded slowly. "No tricks, just food." "Thank you." John helped the creature stand. It was cold to the touch like metal, but it felt alive. They walked slowly back toward the house. Inside, John gave it a blanket and placed a bowl of soup in front of it. The creature looked at the bowl, confused. "You eat, right?" John asked. The creature nodded. "Yes, I can eat." It took a spoon awkwardly, like it had never used one before, and slowly sipped the soup. Its body shook as it swallowed the warm liquid. For a few minutes, neither of them spoke. Finally, John asked, "What's your name?" The creature looked at him. "You can call me Vornak?" "All right, Vornak," John said. "Where did you come from?" Vornak looked toward the window at the dark sky above, far from here. "A place your kind has never seen. I came with others, but they left me. They said I was no longer useful." John frowned. "They just abandoned you," Vornak nodded. "Yes, and now?" "They are not the only danger." John narrowed his eyes. "What do you mean?" Vornak looked back at him. "Something else is coming, something worse." John leaned back in his chair. His quiet farm was no longer quiet. It rained the next morning. Dark clouds covered the sky, and the wind howled through the trees. The cornfield danced under the storm like it was alive. Inside the small wooden house, John watched the rain hit the windows. He sipped his coffee, staring at the strange being sitting across from him. The alien had wrapped itself in a blanket and was sitting quietly on the floor. His glowing eyes followed the raindrops as they slid down the glass. "You slept?" John asked. Vornak nodded. "Not really. But I closed my thoughts. It helps me heal." John didn't understand that, but he didn't ask more. Everything about this creature was strange. He walked to the window and looked outside. The field looked flooded. Storm ruined half the crops. He muttered. Rnak stood slowly. "I can help." John turned to him. "How? I still have some ability?" John raised an eyebrow. "Magic?" Vornak shook his head. "Not magic, just something your people do not have words for yet." John didn't argue. Instead, he handed Vornak an old raincoat. "Let's go then. Let's see what you can do." They stepped into the muddy field. John sank into the ground with every step, but Vornak walked lightly, like the earth itself held him up. The corn plants were bent. The water had gathered in large puddles, drowning the roots. John sighed. It's all going to rot. Vornak looked around, then slowly raised both hands. The air grew still. The wind stopped. The rain slowed. And then the water moved. John stared in shock as the puddles began to shift, sliding across the ground like they were alive, flowing away from the crops toward the ditches at the edge of the field. It took only seconds. Then everything was still again. The soil began to breathe, rising and falling gently, and the corn stood up straighter, stronger. John dropped his shovel. What the hell was that? Vornak turned to him. You said I could work, so I did. Later that evening, John sat on his porch in silence. His head was full of questions. What was Vornak really? Why did he help? Why did he speak like a servant, but act like something ancient? He felt uneasy. He heard footsteps. Vornak joined him on the porch. For a moment they both sat quietly, watching the dark clouds drift away. You didn't ask for anything in return, John said. I don't need much, Vornak replied. Just peace, just shelter. John looked at him. You said something is coming. What is it? Vornak was quiet. Then he spoke. Hunters, John leaned forward. Aliens, like you? No, Vornak said softly, not like me. They are older, colder. They chase what they fear, and destroy what they do not understand. Are they looking for you? Yes. John's chest tightened. Will they come here? Vornak looked up at the sky. They already are? That night, John couldn't sleep. He kept hearing things, cracks in the trees, whispers in the wind. At midnight, he stepped outside with a flashlight. He walked toward the barn. The animals were restless suddenly. His light caught something, a shadow, moving at the edge of the field. He froze. It was fast. Too fast. Then it was gone. John ran back to the house and locked the door. Inside, Vornak stood by the window. They're close now, he said. I can feel them. Can we hide? John asked. Vornak turned to him. No, he said. We must prepare. The moon was missing that night. Only clouds moved in the sky, thick, silent, heavy, like something was waiting above them. John sat on the edge of his bed, shotgun across his lap, eyes wide open. He hadn't slept. Vornak stood near the window, unmoving. He had been standing there for hours, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. They're close now, he said again. John's fingers tightened on the shotgun. How close? Vornak turned his head. They are here. At that moment, the porch light flickered. Once. Twice. Then it went out. Complete. Darkness fell around the house. John jumped up. The power's out? No, Vornak whispered. They killed it. John rushed to the kitchen, grabbed a flashlight, and opened the back door. Wind howled past him. Cold, wrong. He pointed the light toward the barn. Everything looked still, too still. Then he heard it. Click, click, like claws tapping on wood. He raised the light toward the roof. There was something up there. Crawling. Watching. Suddenly, the barn door creaked open, just an inch, then slammed shut. John stepped back. What the hell are they? Vornak walked out behind him. His voice was calm but low. They are the ones who erase. They do not speak. They do not forgive. They hunt what escapes, like me. John aimed his shotgun. Well, they're not taking you. No, Vornak said. They're here for both of us now. The air grew colder. A strange sound echoed through the field, like metal scraping against glass. Then lights appeared in the sky, not bright. Not like human lights. They pulsed, green, red, then vanished. Shadows moved across the ground, tall and thin, but not solid. John and Vornak backed into the house and locked the door. Will the gun work? John asked. No, John sighed. Didn't think so. He walked to the kitchen, grabbed metal tools, knives, rope, anything. Vornak touched the walls of the house. Faint blue lines glowed where his fingers passed. What are you doing? John asked. I am leaving a memory, Vornak said. If we fall, something must remain. Suddenly, glass shattered in the living room. One of the windows had exploded inward. Something had come in. John turned fast, shotgun raised. From the shadows came a low growl. Then a hiss. A shape stepped forward. It didn't walk. It floated, gliding silently across the wooden floor. Its body was dark like smoke, long arms that stretched too far, and its face was empty. No eyes, just a mouthful of small silver teeth. John fired. The shotgun blast echoed through the house, smoke and fire. The creature didn't fall. It just stopped. And then moved faster. Before John could reload, Vornik stepped forward. His eyes burned bright blue. "Enough!" he said. His hand rose, and a pulse of energy shot out like a wave of light and heat. The creature was thrown backward, crashing through the wall. Into the night. Silence returned. Smoke curled from the barrel of John's gun. His hands were shaking. Vornik turned to him. "They won't stop. More will come. How many?" "Too many for this place to hold." John sat down on the floor, breathing hard. "Then we run." Vornik shook his head. "No, if we run, they'll follow. If we hide, they'll find. We must stand here or nowhere." John looked around at his broken home, his quiet field now full of shadows. He nodded slowly. "Then we make a plan." Later that night, they boarded up the windows. Vornik carved strange shapes into the wood with his fingers. They glowed, just barely, like stars trying to shine through fog. John tied traps near the barn. Nails, wires, broken glass, every sound outside made his heart race, but for now, nothing came. Vornik stood outside, looking at the sky again. He whispered to himself words John didn't understand. Then he turned to the field. "They will return with more. Not tonight, but soon." "How soon?" John asked. Vornik looked down at the earth beneath them. "When the moon returns." The moon returned, a thin silver blade in the sky, cold and sharp. It cut through the dark clouds like a warning, as if the sky itself was watching what would happen below. John stood in the barn, his back against the wooden wall, holding a hammer in one hand and a knife in the other. He could barely breathe. Vornik was somewhere outside. Waiting. The traps were set, the house was sealed, but none of it felt like enough. Not against them. Not against the things that floated instead of walked, that whispered without mouths, that killed without touching. John's eyes scanned the cornfield. It was too quiet. Even the animals refused to make a sound. Not the chickens, not the cows, not even the dogs. Then it began. A light appeared, not from the sky, from the ground. A strange green glow, rising like mist from the soil between the cornstalks. It moved, flowed, slid across the earth like oil, and then came the sound. Click, click, that same tapping noise from days before, only now there were more of them. Too many. Shadows began to form inside the mist, long limbs, long fingers, empty faces. 1, then 3, then 7. John's breath caught in his throat. He slowly backed deeper into the barn. Suddenly, the trap snapped. Boom. A homemade explosive, packed with nails and scrap metal, detonated at the edge of the field. John saw one of the creatures fly backward in pieces. The rest didn't even flinch. No screams, no fear, just silence and motion. Another trap, wires strung through the grass, triggered, crack. A flash of fire burst up. Still, they came forward, crawling now. Low to the ground. Faster. John turned to run toward the house, but stopped. At the center of the field stood Vornik. Alone. Unmoving. His arms stretched out to both sides. Waiting. The creatures turned to him, drawn to him like wolves to blood. They rushed. All of them, straight toward Vornik, and just before they reached him, he moved. His eyes burst into blue fire, his body lit with lines of ancient symbols that flowed across his chest and arms like glowing rivers. He raised both hands, and the air around him cracked like lightning without thunder. Then he screamed, a sound not made for human ears. It echoed across the field, and the creatures stopped. Frozen. Trapped in mid-motion, and then they shattered. Like glass. One by one. The bodies of the attackers exploded into light and dust. John stared in shock from the barn door. He couldn't move. He couldn't think. Vornik fell to his knees. Breathing hard, his light fading, John ran to him. What was that? Vornik looked up, his face pale, his glow dim. I broke my vow, he said. John helped him stand. What vow? To never destroy again, Vornik whispered. I was once made for war, but I chose peace. Until tonight. John looked around. The field was empty again, but the soil still burned blue, and the air smelled like lightning. Back in the house, John helped Vornik to a chair. You saved us, he said. Vornik didn't answer. He stared at his hands. They were shaking. They were only scouts, he finally said. The real ones. They will come soon, John frowned. That wasn't real enough? No, Vornik said. That was only the beginning. John sat down beside him. You didn't have to protect me. Why did you? Vornik looked at him. You fed me when I was empty. You sheltered me when I was weak. You gave without asking. I have seen your kind destroy planets for less. John stayed quiet, then Vornik added, Now, you and your land are marked. They will not stop. John stood slowly. He looked out the window at the broken traps and smoking field. They can come, he said, but I won't run. And neither should you. Vornik smiled. The first time since they met, then we fight together. The ground still smoked in the morning. John walked slowly through the blackened soil, his boots sinking into ash and twisted metal, the remains of his traps, and the things they barely held back. Nothing moved in the field, but the silence felt different now. Heavier. Behind him, Vornik limped across the scorched earth. His glow had faded. The symbols on his skin were dim, like dying stars. You're hurt, John said. I'll heal, Vornik replied. But his voice was weaker now. His steps slower, they returned to the barn. The roof was cracked. The walls were scorched. But it still stood. John walked to the back, to the old trapdoor he never opened. It had been sealed since his father's time, a place forgotten under dust. Today, it was humming. Soft, low, alive. John looked at Vornik. You've been going here at night, haven't you? Vornik didn't answer. The air around the trapdoor vibrated gently, like music played too low to hear. John pulled the latch and lifted it. Dust rose, and beneath, stairs of smooth black stone, not wood. Not brick. Not human. He turned to Vornik. Again, tell me what's down there. Vornik looked tired. There is something I buried, a long time ago, before I became what I am now. John stepped down into the dark. I'll see it myself. The stairs went deeper than they should. The barn above was small, but below it stretched a hollow place, carved in metal and memory. Lights glowed along the walls as John passed, lines of color that lit up where his feet touched the floor. Finally, he reached the bottom, and there it was, a machine, tall, towering, cold and silent. It looked like a tree made of steel, branches curled inward, reaching toward a glowing core that pulsed red and blue. John couldn't breathe. What is this? He asked. Vornik stepped beside him. A weapon. John turned, eyes wide. You buried a bomb under my farm? No, Vornik said. Worse. He walked to the core and placed a hand on it. Instantly, the walls came alive. Images flashed across them like ghost film. Burning skies, cities falling, stars collapsing. I was born from this, Vornik said quietly. I was not always flesh. I was once part of a system designed to end wars before they started, designed to calculate destruction. My kind, we didn't fight with weapons. We became them. John stared at the images. They made his skin crawl. You were a tool? I was a voice in the machine, Vornik whispered. But I wanted more. I wanted to feel, to taste, to be. So you ran? John said. Double quotes. Yes, I escaped. I took the core with me. I buried it here. I tried to forget. But they're here now. Because of this, John said, looking at the pulsing device. They will not allow it to stay hidden, Vornik said. If they take it, they can restart the war we tried to end. John stepped forward. So we destroy it. Vornik shook his head. If we destroy it, it releases its memory, a shockwave. It could erase everything within 100 miles. John's stomach sank. So either they take it, or we all burn. Vornek nodded slowly. I'm sorry, John. John laughed bitterly. You came here hungry, weak, asking for food. And now you tell me there's a ticking alien death engine under my barn? Vornek lowered his head. I should have told you. John stood in silence. Then he walked to the machine he stared into. Its glowing core, he saw flashes of other worlds, other lives. Children playing in skies not his own. He placed a hand on it. It felt warm. Alive. Something changed. The light shifted. The machine pulsed louder. Vornek's eyes widened. It responded to you. What does that mean? John asked, pulling his hand back. It means you can control it. John turned. Me? Vornek nodded. It chose you. That night, John didn't sleep. He sat in the barn, staring down into the dark below. He could feel it, humming beneath the floor. Like a heart ready to wake, Vornek stood nearby, silent. The wind outside was rising again. The stars were moving. Something was coming. And now, the farm was no longer just a home. It was a battlefield, and maybe something more. Asterisk, the stars were gone, covered, blotted out by something massive in the sky. It didn't move like a ship. It didn't glow like a moon. It just hung there like a shadow too large to name. John stared up at it from his porch. His hands were dirty, his eyes were tired, but he didn't look away. Vornek stood beside him, silent. They're here, John said. Yes, Vornek replied. All of them. Lights began to fall from the black sky like needles of fire, silent and deadly. They pierced the earth miles away, but John could feel the tremors in his bones. No one's coming, are they? John asked. Vornek shook his head. Your world doesn't believe in what's already here. By the time they see it, it will be too late. John smirked bitterly. Story of our species. He picked up the hammer, slung his shotgun, and walked toward the barn, inside. The alien machine pulsed brighter now, responding to something in the air. John stood before it, hands trembling. This thing can fight back? Vornek nodded. It can protect, but only once. After that it dies. Like I will. John looked at him. You're not going to die. I was never meant to live this long, Vornek said. I'm already past my time. My energy is fading. Don't say that, John snapped. Not after everything we've done. Vornek placed a hand on John's shoulder. You gave me something no machine ever knew. Purpose. Then he stepped toward the core. Are you ready? He asked John. Took a breath. No, he said, but let's do it anyway. The sky cracked open, a thunderclap without sound. Creatures descended from the dark, not one or two, but hundreds, falling like ash, crawling through air, sliding across ground. They surrounded the field like wolves, eyes glowing red in the night. Some floated. Some walked. Others melted into the corn and reappeared at the house's edge, and then the real terror came. A shape, unlike anything else, tall as the trees, wide as a silo, its skin like burning rock and shadow. The commander, Vornek, staggered, holding his chest. He's here, he gasped. He can smell the core. John didn't wait. He slammed his hand on the machine. It pulsed, and the world went quiet for 1 second. Everything paused. Even the stars. Then the pulse exploded. The earth shook. A dome of invisible force shot outward from the barn, knocking back the first wave of creatures like dust in wind. Vornek's body glowed, brighter than ever. His feet lifted from the ground. His eyes flared like suns. Symbols appeared again, but now they burned. He screamed, and the sky screamed with him. John could barely stand from the power. Pouring out of the core, the commander moved forward. Undeterred, it raised one massive arm, pointed directly at John. Then everything slowed. John saw memories flash. In his mind, his father working the land, his mother humming by the window, the sound of the corn. In the wind, he thought of the first time Vornek whispered from the stalks. He thought of that one small bowl of soup. Kindness. He stepped forward. I'm not giving you this land. He said to the dark, this farm doesn't belong to you. The commander raised its arm again. Vornik cried out, and then he changed. His body began to unravel, light and code splitting apart from skin. He moved faster than thought, straight into the core. No, John shouted. Vornik turned back. One last time. His voice was calm. Thank you for letting me be something more. Then he vanished. The machine screamed. Light tore through the earth, upward, through the barn, through the sky, into the heart of the shadow above. The commander froze. A hole opened in its chest, glowing with Vornak's light, and then it shattered. Piece by piece, sound returned like a roar. The sky caught fire. The invaders screamed and fell. And silence followed. Real silence. The war was over. The next morning, the sun rose over broken fields. Floated in the wind. John stood alone, staring at the crater where the machine used to be. Just earth now. Vornak was gone, but the farm still stood. Alive. Different. John reached down. The soil beneath his feet was glowing faintly. Just for a second, like something beneath was still remembering, still watching, still waiting. The machines were gone. The stars had returned, and the sky, for the first time in many nights, felt like it belonged to Earth again. John stood at the edge of his field, staring into the golden morning. The corn had grown back, faster than it should have, taller, straighter, like something deeper in the soil had whispered, "Rise again." He didn't speak much anymore, not since the night Vornak disappeared, but every morning he walked the land, not to work it. Just to remember. In the barn, the crater had filled with rain, a shallow pool now, reflecting the sun like a quiet eye. No alien metal remained. No glow. Just water and wind and silence. The animals wouldn't go near it. And sometimes at night, the water shimmered, just for a second, like something below the surface was still alive. John never touched it. He didn't have to. He knew. Down the road, people talked. They said strange lights had vanished from the sky, that crops had suddenly healed across half the county, that machines had stopped working for 3 minutes during the storm, but no one really asked questions. People wanted to forget. John didn't blame them. Weeks passed, the harvest came, and for the first time in years, every plant bloomed. The corn was thick and rich. The wheat bent heavy with grain. Even the old apple tree, the one John had given up on, bore sweet red fruit. He picked it with quiet hands. There were no words for what he felt. Grief. Peace. Thing in between. One evening, as the sun bled gold across the sky, John found something in the field, a small stone, smooth, black, warm. He hadn't placed it there. He lifted it. Etched on the surface were symbols, faint, ancient, the same ones that once burned across Vornik's skin. John held the stone for a long time. He didn't cry, but his eyes didn't blink for a while. That night, he sat on the porch. Same spot where it all began. The wind passed gently through the corn. And in the quiet, a voice echoed, not in his ears, but somewhere inside his chest. "Thank you, human, for letting me carry your burdens?" He closed his eyes, and for a moment, he wasn't alone. Far above the earth, hidden in orbit behind the dark side of the moon, something watched. A small ship. Old, scarred, silent. Inside, a single light pulsed, slow and steady, and in that light, two eyes opened. Blue. Familiar. Vornak was not gone, not completely. He sat in silence, staring at the stars. In front of him, a new seed glowed. Not a weapon, not a machine, a child, not born, but becoming, born not of war, but of kindness. Of a meal, shared under a storm. Of one man's quiet decision to say, "I'll help." On Earth, the last leaf of the season drifted down from the apple tree. It landed in soft soil. And the wind carried the whisper of a voice only John could hear. This was the last harvest, but not the end.